Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Martine, and if you are new here, I do videos on Vedic astrology mainly, but also with tropical insights, and I focus on both relationship and natal astrology. And if you like this video and you like my channel and would like to hear more content from me, please like the video, subscribe, hit the notifications bell to see when I will be posting the next video. And also, if you're interested in a personal consultation, I do consultations on a variety of subjects. Please email me at the email address that I will leave in the video description. Thank you. And today I have decided to start with the 2021 transits for all ascendants. Now, in order to kind of even out the playing field, because I know that whenever somebody or an astrologer does these kinds of series, and I speak from my experience as well, you know, watching other astrologers' channels or in the past, or you know, following some blogs or something, I was always frustrated because if you have your moon or your ascendant or your sun being Pisces or Aquarius, you always have to wait the longest to hear your interpretation. So in order to even out that natural zodiac order injustice, I have decided to just elect, I basically made, like, you know, notes with all the zodiac signs, the 12 zodiac signs, and each time I'm gonna make a video. I plan on making 2 videos per week on transits to finish at least by mid-January 2021. So each time every week I'm gonna extract 2 ascendants that I'm gonna talk about in that particular week. And this week I happen to extract Taurus and Libra. It's really funny. So like the Venus ruled people are favored this week. So I'm gonna be doing the Taurus Ascendant transits for 2021. Just a few things before I get into it. I am going to be showing a chart that I took from astro.com. If you have used astro.com, it's a free free website, and I mentioned it in every video description. You can get a free chart there, and you can do a variety of selections and settings and all this stuff. And I have made 2 sample charts from astro.com, and I'm going to be showing them on the screen. Basically, these are the charts that are going to describe the major transits for 2021 for Taurus Ascendant. There are 2 variations. One of them has Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto in Capricorn, and the other has Jupiter in Aquarius and Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn. So since this is a general transit description, I have refrained to only looking at Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto as well, but I will be doing it from my particular interpretation, not the typical tropical interpretation. And I've also looked at Rahu and Ketu. Rahu is going to be staying in Taurus throughout the duration of 2021. Kind of funny that I extracted Taurus as the first sign to get their ascendant done, since Rahu is going to be in the ascendant for the Taurus Ascendant natives in 2021. So yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to say. So let me get straight into it. So to start with the first chart, this is going to be available. This is going to apply it's going to apply for the period of time from January 1st to around April 5th, 2021. Then from 14th September to 18th October 2021, when Jupiter is in Capricorn retrograde, and also from 18th October to 20th of November 2021, when Jupiter is in Capricorn direct. So I'm not going to make any separate interpretations for when Jupiter is in Capricorn direct versus retrograde, but you might want to keep in mind that when a planet is retrograde, it is behaving as if it were in the previous sign that it was before the retrograde period. So in this case, technically, when Jupiter is retrograde in Capricorn, it will be behaving like it is in Aquarius, which is the sign that it was in before it switches to retrograde. So yeah, basically for roughly, let me see, how many months is that? And probably like 8 months, Jupiter is going to stay in Capricorn in 2021. So there's going to be a continuation of the same themes in general that have happened in 2020. Now, specifically for Taurus Ascendant, this Saturn-Jupiter-Pluto conjunction is going to fall in your 9th house. This is the first chart, like I said, applying for all of these periods that I have mentioned previously. So let's get into what exactly this means. Saturn is ruling your 9th house, your 10th house. Your 10th house also happens to be co-ruled by Rahu. And it sits in your 9th house with the ruler of the 8th. So basically we have 9th, 8th, 11th, and 10th houses are being bound together by this conjunction. And it's happening in the 9th house. So what this shows me, first of all, is that if you are in some kind of a study program, if you are enrolled in university, this year you're going to see delays in acquiring higher education. So if you are going for a graduate degree or you were planning on getting a graduate degree, you will see delays. Now remember, Saturn shows obstacles and delays, but it doesn't show like denial. So if you are going through this transit, you have Ascendant in Taurus and you have a long-term plan, don't be discouraged by this, because you need to just be diligent about it, do what you can, work hard, and eventually you will pull through with your plans. But Saturn is making you work particularly hard if you want to get a graduate degree this year, and graduate and above. And this could also apply to, obviously, PhD, research assistant, anything like that, higher knowledge thing. It can also apply to somebody who, let's say, wants to reach a higher level in a clergy system or some kind of religious hierarchy system. But it also applies for any kind of specialized knowledge. So like, if you were planning on, I don't know, you're a doctor and you were planning on taking a course on, I don't know, psychology. Let's say you're let's say you're a brain surgeon and you wanted to take courses on psychology to specialize yourself further. It's going to cause some delays. So some obstacles, could be financial, could be something else, health related, whatever it is. But since Saturn is conjunct Jupiter, and Jupiter rules your 8th and 11th houses, this can show that it's somehow connected to debt. So it also can show that you might be inclined to get into debt to pursue higher education. If you are inclined to do this, you just have to be particularly careful with what you are signing. Just make sure that you are thorough with understanding exactly what you're getting yourself into. It also can show that in general, you will have an increased interest in things like the occult, also astrology, but occult in general, not just because the ruler of your 8th is in the 9th house, but also because Rahu is aspecting the 9th house, because Rahu is in your first house. So remember, by Vedic astrology, Rahu aspects the 1st, the 5th, the 7th, and the 9th houses from where it's placed. And Rahu is going to be aspecting this Saturn-Jupiter-Pluto conjunction. This is generally true, but in your particular case, it is aspecting the 9th house. So it will be, this year, 2021, you will see an increase in, let's say, unconventional forms of knowledge. And things like occult, all things esoteric, tarot, astrology, numerology, might even be, but no, I wouldn't venture to say something like psychic stuff, because the 12th house is not involved. Pretty much. And also, it shows me that a lot of efforts will be placed into ninth house matters. So this definitely makes me think that it's something to do with higher education, but it can also be something like travel. Like, traveling will be particularly difficult. Again, this could be true for everybody next year, but in particular for Taurus Ascendant, since Saturn and Jupiter falls into your ninth house. And this shows me that, you know, you might be particularly frustrated with regards to traveling. And another thing that I can say is that it is possible that your entire outlook and life philosophy will be somehow revolutionized, transformed next year. Again, this is because the 8th house ruler is in your 9th house, and it's also because Pluto is there, and Pluto in tropical astrology signifies transformation, so that's pretty much what it makes me think. Aside from this, Saturn is going to be aspecting your 11th house. So 11th house is also quite affected by this transit, which shows me that you're going to suffer a loss of friendship next year. So bear in mind, nothing that Saturn does is particularly evil. It's simply about cleansing. So Saturn is going to shake up anything that is not thoroughly built. Anything that is not genuine, that will not stand the test of time, is going to be challenged by Saturn's placement in a person's chart. So in your case, you have Saturn aspecting the 11th house by third aspect. So on the one hand, it shows that you're going to be inclined to be working really hard to maintain friendships, and particularly with foreign people, it tells me, people of faraway places, because the 11th is in Pisces. But you're going to be struggling, and still you might feel like you are losing friendships, or friendships are going to become colder, more distanced. But this is something that you need to go through in order to grow spiritually and in general. But it will be difficult. So like if you're relying on things like connections, on stuff like that, it's going to be a little bit more difficult next year to get any gains from your connections, from your networks, extended networks, friends and all this stuff, acquaintances. And since it affects your 9th house, yep. It also affects the 10th house because, like I said, I don't know if I said actually, but I did write it on the I'm going to write it on the screen. So Saturn also rules the 10th house in your case, and Rahu co-rules it because your 10th house falls in Aquarius. So all of this is also going to impact your career, so your house of professional activity. Again, this could show delays, like in some way delays. So you're definitely overall, what I can see is that your 10th house, so your career, your higher knowledge and spirituality are going to be the main themes that are going to require your attention, your hard work, and your discipline next year. Now, obviously, there is something called Ashtak Varga, which I'm not going to get into right now, but depending on the Ashtak Varga, you can get, and also your personal Mahadasha and all this stuff. Mahadasha is basically your personal transit period. So each Mahadasha is dominated by a particular planet based on your time of birth, and which is stuff that, again, I cannot really get into this, which is why I did mention in the other video that I made about transits that, you know, I do personal consultations on transits, but I can't really, I can't really say too much in depth when I'm doing one of these generalized transits for each ascendant, because there's a lot that depends on the individual person's, chart and divisional charts and transits and all that stuff. Which is why you're also going to notice that on the chart wheel, I only wrote the planets that I am discussing. Obviously, there will be other planets. All the other planets are going to fall somewhere on this chart. But I don't have time to discuss all of that. And the other planets are a lot more fast changing. So like the moon is going to change every 3 days. Mars is going to change probably around, I don't know, every month or like less than a month. So I don't really have time to go through all of those. I'm just going to look at the general transits because these planets are going to be more or less in the same placements throughout the entire year. So yeah, just a small parenthesis. Another thing that I can see is that your third house, again, so I can definitely see for Taurus Ascendant that travel is going to be frustrated. Is going to be particularly frustrating for you next year. The third house being also opposite Saturn, so it's also impacted. And the, let me think, the 10th house, right. With regards to relationships, another particular area that I see is impacted because there's Ketu in the 7th house and also Saturn aspecting the 7th house because Saturn aspects the 10th house from itself. So what I can say about relationships, and Ketu also is actually quite strong because Ketu co-rules the sign of Scorpio, so it sits in the sign of Scorpio. This shows me that interest in partnerships is going to dwindle next year. So if you are in a committed relationship, you want to be careful because if you know, it could show a tendency to separate with the person that you are with. But if you don't want to separate, be very careful because the person that you are with might feel neglected or might start to feel dissatisfied with the relationship. So be extra careful with your life partner because if they start to feel neglected, like if you start to get too, introverted, to focus on your career and your long-term plans and all this stuff, they're gonna feel neglected and might, this may cause friction and worst case might cause separation because Ketu shows basically kind of a separation with any area that it touches, and Ketu in the 7th just shows that the whole relationship arena is going to be neglected by you throughout the entire 2021. Of course, there are variations to this based on what other planets are maybe falling in the 7th house and what other planets are aspecting and all this stuff, but this is just the general theme that I can see for all Taurus Ascendant people. And also Rahu, so Rahu is going to aspect not just the 7th or like Ketu. Ketu and Rahu are both aspecting, simultaneously the 5th, 7th, 9th placements from themselves. And so Rahu is also going to aspect the 5th house and the 9th house, like I said. And so Rahu aspecting the 5th house, this can show that you might have a increased interest in fun games, romance, and all this stuff. Oh, this is really funny because see, Rahu is aspecting the 5th house, which shows that you might be you might be attracted to somebody who's new and flashy and potentially of a foreign origin. This kind of goes hand in hand with Ketu being in the 7th. So if you are in a relationship, this shows me that there will be a tendency to get bored with your current partner. So be very careful with this. Like, don't let, temporary glitter, outshine your common sense in the long term. So like, don't throw away a long-term relationship just because something new comes along. Yeah. And what else can I see? It's pretty much it. So this is like for the, let me see, Jupiter Ascendant. Right, Jupiter also is going to aspect the first. So aside from all this, basically the general feel for this chart at least is that you are definitely going to be very self-centered this year. Not just because your 10th and 9th houses are very impacted, and Saturn is there, so it's making you work hard on these areas. But Jupiter is also aspecting, Jupiter again will aspect the 5th placement from itself. So it will be aspecting your ascendant as well, and it will be aspecting Rahu, which is good because Jupiter aspecting Rahu will tone down the negative impacts of Rahu, technically speaking, although in this particular case Jupiter is particularly weak, so you might, I don't know if that's going to apply. But Jupiter is going to aspect your ascendant, which shows that you're definitely going to focus on somehow improving yourself. But Jupiter and Rahu aspecting your ascendant can show is, particularly since your ascendant is in Taurus, the tendency to gain weight this year is going to be particularly high. So watch that. Don't be overindulgent because Jupiter is going to be aspecting the ascendant. But on the plus side, no pun intended, on the plus side, it can make you just be particularly focused on improving yourself in some way. Again, this could relate to higher knowledge, again, because it goes hand in hand with Jupiter being in the 9th house. But, you know, it can show any tendency to improve yourself. So, like, changing your life philosophy, maybe taking up exercise, taking up a new diet, a new exercise. This would be particularly favorable this year. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. So yeah, it aspects the first. Let me think, what else does it aspect? 7, 8, 9. Yeah, so Jupiter also aspects your 5th house. Quite interesting. So, wow, like Jupiter aspecting your 5th house can show, and Rahu as well, that you might tend to get into speculative gain stuff. Whether this is actually going to be positive or not, I would have to look at other placements in your particular chart. So I'm not going to advise you, but one thing that I will say is that there will be a tendency to invest. So there will be a tendency to get interested in things like gambling, like fast gains, you know, investments, but be careful not to be too extravagant with these investments because they can lead to losses. Pretty much. Yep. So this is it. This is what I can see for the first chart, which applies to, like I said, the previous periods, which you're also going to see on the screen. Hopefully the writing is going to be visible. So the second chart, when Jupiter moves into Aquarius, this will apply from approximately April 5th until 14th of September 2021. And also from the 20th of November 2021 until 31st of December 2021. It might continue after that. Most likely it does, but I'm only going to talk about 2021. So next year will be a different video. So in this particular chart, as you can hopefully see on the screen, Jupiter is in Aquarius. So Saturn is going to be conjunct Pluto in your 9th house, but without Jupiter. And so again, this is going to show a strong emphasis on career because Jupiter is going to be in your 10th house. And it's going to rule your 11th and your 8th houses. Which shows that this is the time when you are going to be most lucky if you are looking for a new job opportunity. So be careful. So be prepared for this time. So like, you know, to apply for new jobs. And also this can be a time when your acquaintances, such as they are, you know, can help you get a new job. And also you might get a job in some kind of something to do with foreign languages, or again, it could be connected to foreigners because the 8th house rules foreigners, but particularly foreigners that are speaking a different language than you are. And yeah, so it could show some kind of foreign opportunity of work. And with Saturn staying in the 9th is the same thing. So Saturn is still going to impact your 9th, the 3rd. So the frustration to do with the travel is going to be throughout the next year. Saturn is also going to be aspecting your 11th continuously because Saturn is going to stay in Capricorn throughout the year. So yeah, so again, the friends are going to be weeded out, like if they are not true friends. Either you're gonna just figure out that they were phony people, or they're gonna, fall by the bandwagon. Like, they're just gonna drop off, as in they're not gonna contact you or whatever. Something's gonna happen around friends. And yeah, so Jupiter being in the 10th house is also going to aspect your 4th house, which shows that this is a time when is not just the 4th house, but it's also going to aspect your 2nd house. So it's going to be aspecting the 2nd by 5th aspect, and the 4th by 7th aspect, and the 6th by 9th aspect. So this shows an improvement to do with your finances. So this definitely kind of hints towards the idea that you might be getting a new job opportunity, or some kind of opportunity of making money, maybe not necessarily a job. So this is also because it impacts all the money houses, the 10th, the 2nd, the 6th house, and the 4th house. Which 4th house can show that it will be a lucky time if you're interested in real estate, maybe finding a new place to live, finding a new home, getting a bank loan. I wouldn't venture out to say that, because that depends on many other personalized factors. But it can definitely show some improvement with regards to the home situation with your family as well, because the 2nd house in Vedic astrology is connected to family. So Jupiter aspects also the 2nd and the 4th houses, which shows an improvement with the family situation if there have been troubles. And Jupiter aspecting the 6th shows that this is a time when your health is going to improve. So if you have any kind of health problems, you're going to see relief of symptoms. But of course, you have to keep being disciplined about it if you want to improve your health. And it also can show, obviously it shows that the work environment is going to get better. Or again, it can show opportunities of employment. So opportunities of getting a job, not necessarily starting your own business, because the 6th house is employment. If 7th house would have been involved, I would have said, opportunities for business. But with this, definitely shows me, job opportunities, career opportunities, moving up the ladder. And you're going to find your workplace more benefic, better, amiable, better co-workers. Also, if you have any pets, this is a time when the relationship with your pets is going to improve, or if the pets have had any kind of health problems, this is going to improve when Jupiter is transiting through Aquarius. And let me see what else. Rahu and Ketu are going to stay the same as they did in the other chart. So Rahu and Ketu are going to stay. Rahu is going to stay in Taurus, and Ketu is going to stay in Scorpio. So with regards to relationships, the thing that I said before applies throughout the entire year for you. So there will be a tendency to neglect your partner, or just not be interested in, or move away from existing partners and relationship. And it also basically shows that opportunities to start a business are going to decrease this year, because Ketu is weakening the 7th house, and simultaneously, especially during this second chart phase, when Jupiter is aspecting your 6th house, it shows that the opportunities are going to be higher for getting a job rather than thriving in a business, or starting your own business, or some kind of self-employed thing. Pretty much. So what else can I say? So Jupiter, right. So like I said, this is what I can see. So Jupiter aspects the 10th, the 2nd, the 4th, the 6th. And, Saturn staying in the 9th, same thing. Nothing's really going to change. So Saturn is the ruler of your 9th house, and it stays in the 9th house, which means the theme of finding obstacles and delays when it comes to higher education are going to be a constant throughout the year, really. And it also simultaneously means that somehow it could be that your career might have taken you abroad, but there's some frustration about that. So like, because Saturn is also ruling your 10th house and it's falling in the 9th house, which shows to me that maybe you had some kind of plan to take a job abroad and it's going to be frustrated next year. Or like if you had plans of moving abroad, maybe for higher education, they're also going to be frustrated. But overall, the best thing about Rahu in the first is that this year you're really going to stand out, obviously depending on what other planets are there. But this year you're going to stand out, you're going to come across as more charismatic, you're going to, you know, easily attract attention. You're also going to become more egotistical, more self-centered. So again, this goes hand in hand with the idea of your partner might feel neglected, so be careful about that. But the good part about it is you're going to be more charismatic. It's going to be easier for you to sell yourself, quote unquote. So again, this kind of goes hand in hand with the job opportunity thing as well, especially when Jupiter is in Aquarius. And but also when Jupiter is in Capricorn, because Jupiter is going to be aspecting your first house together with Rahu, you're going to come across as a particularly learned individual, trustworthy individual as well. And it's going to be easier for you to get a job, basically. So that's it. This is what I can see for Taurus Ascendant. This is very general, just based on these planets that I have mentioned. Obviously, if something more personalized is something you're interested in, then please email me about a personal consultation. But I think, you know, Taurus, you pretty much don't have it, you know, I mean, I generally look at this pretty optimistically for anybody, because Jupiter and Saturn, they're not like, it's not all bad. Like a transit is never all bad. It's just like stuff that you have to go through in order to grow and experience and become a better person. So the point of reading transits is just about learning what you should be aware of, what kind of tendencies you should be aware of, and not to do anything too much on impulse. And, you know, like I mentioned with the relationship thing, like, and with the gambling thing, be careful about that. But yeah, pretty much this is what I can see. So once again, thank you if you have watched the video, and if you liked it, please like, subscribe, hit the notifications bell, and if you're interested in a personal consultation, please email me at the email in the video description. And thank you.